Yo guys, it's Rumblin' Man here, and in today's video we are checking out the no longer made Squier Troy Sanders Jaguar bass. So stick with me, and I'll see you in a second. Very cool, guys. I hope you enjoyed the rock tones. Now, welcome to this playlist you're on today, which is my Vintage Artifacts playlist. The Vintage Artifacts, not everything we look at in this playlist is necessarily vintage in terms of old, but we look at guitars and basses, primarily basses, that are no longer made, especially those that might have kind of a cool story or a mystery to them. I love coming across basses and celebrating basses that used to be on the market but are not today, other than in used fashion. Okay, so this is a Troy Sanders Squier Jaguar bass, and I find its disappearance from the market to be a little peculiar, and we're going to talk about that today. But first, let me welcome you to the Rumblin' Man channel. This is a guitar and bass channel, which we check out all gear in relation to guitar and bass, so welcome. I invite you to hit the subscribe button, become one of my subscribers, and we have a lot of videos just like this one, so make sure you stay put right here on this playlist. I was very limited in the details that I could find about this bass. So while there are certain specs that are online, there's certain information that is not. So keep in mind that today's video is going to be part fact, but also part speculation when it comes to this particular bass. Just a basic overview. We got a great Jaguar body here, cool black headstock with a very sleek look, and then this has obviously the Mastodon logo on it, as Troy is their bass player. We have a PJ configuration. Now, I'm a big-time PJ guy. It's my favorite configuration. Sometimes I think it sounds absolutely great. Other times I'm not blown away. In terms of controls and what you can do, it is an active bass. As you can see, the 9-volt battery compartment right here. So the preamp, to me, is interesting because essentially what we have is we have two volume knobs, one for each pickup. You know, the middle pickup, which is the precision pickup, and then the bridge pickup, which is the J pickup. They each have their own volume knob. Okay, then back here in this position, you have just a regular tone knob, which it is cool to see a tone knob on an active bass because you don't always see that, but I find that tone knobs are very useful. So kind of a jazz bass type tone knob. But then this third knob right here is actually a bass boost knob. So instead of like most basses with active preamps, where you might be able to have, you know, a bass cut and boost and a treble cut and boost, and even sometimes a mid as well, this is just simply a bass boost knob. Cool. And the thing is, I like the sound of this bass to an extent. I think you can get some really good sounds with it, but I'm not really blown away by the lack of flexibility you have in the active tone. When you turn this knob off, you lose a lot of gain, and the bass just kind of wimps out on you. Real quick, I'll show you. I'll play a little bit with the bass boost knob off, and then about midway, and then on full, just so you can kind of see, you know, how much gain and how much tone you actually lose if you don't have this knob rolled onto 10. So as you can see, it is really cool to have an active component like that. And if you like a lot of, kick and bass in your sound, this should be a real kick and bass heavy bass. You got your Squier PJ pickups that are what they are. So pretty cool. Honestly, a beautiful bass. And if you come across one of these on the used market, it could be used so well as like a project bass. Like if you want, a bass to put your own pickups in and work on your own preamp configuration, this could be a great candidate for that. This neck has kind of an unfinished feel to it. It doesn't really feel like satin urethane. It's definitely not gloss. It feels very unfinished, and in fact, you can see some of the playing wear from over the years from whoever owned this bass. You can kind of tell that it's an unfinished neck, that they didn't really put, a good coat of anything on there. A lot of players, a lot of bass and guitar players like unfinished necks because of how smooth they are and how you can glide around. Personally, I like thick satin urethane or gloss. That's where I'm at. So though the finish would be a little disappointing to me, actually playing it is a joy to play, and you really can. It is smooth. You can really glide along there fast, but because there isn't much finish to protect the neck, if it gets nicks and dings in it, you can feel them very apparently. And in fact, the rosewood strip down the back, I can literally feel that. I can't find a definitive date that this was released or that it was discontinued, but I can say this: somewhere around 2013, which would be 7 years ago, Fender came out with both the Fender version and the Squier version of the Troy Sanders bass. And at first glance, the two are very similar, as they have kind of the same color, the same pickup configuration, and they're both active. But at second glance, they are actually two very different basses. And the interesting thing is, a Fender version, which retails at over $1,000, and obviously the Squier version, which retailed at significantly less than that, they were both released, but only one remains, and that is the Fender version. The Fender version is still on the market right now. The Squier version is not. What exactly is the difference between the two? Well, for one thing, just a cosmetic thing, on the Fender version, they put Mastodon's logo on the back plate, whereas on the Squier version, they put it up here on the headstock. Also, as far as the electronics go, for the Fender version, they have an active passive switch, so you can have, the pickups either in passive mode or you can have them with the help of the active preamp. And they also had two boost and cut knobs, one for treble and one for bass. But the Squier version doesn't have any of that. All it has is the bass boost knob. There's also a difference in the headstock. The Fender version has a matching headstock, while the Squier version, they simply just made it a black headstock, which is still kind of cool. And there are other differences in the two models as well, but these are just some of the key things that stand out to me. It's kind of like, if you pay less money to get the Squier version, you do get a lot less features, which could be the reason that Fender eventually discontinued it. We do not know. They made the Fender version, they made the Squier version, but they discontinued the Squier version. There's no way to know, and I don't know when they discontinued it. I know it wasn't too terribly long ago, but I do have speculations. Could it be that, in an economic situation, could it be that Fender decided to cut costs by cutting a couple signature Squier basses? Could it be that when it comes to the Troy Sanders model, people just weren't buying the Squier version so much as they were the Fender version? Or could it be worse? Could it be that Troy Sanders himself decided that he wasn't blown away with the product or didn't want his name on a Squier bass anymore? Or even worse than that, could it be that Fender received a lot of negative feedback about the overall usage of this bass and decided to discontinue it because of its poor functions. The world may never know. But if you know any answers to any questions we've asked in this video, please fill me in the comments, as I love bass history and I love to know more about every bass that I come across. A couple quick shout outs, one to my local friend Jeff, who is a local guitar tech and collector, for lending me this bass out of his collection for study today. And another shout out to my good friend Hyde, who lent me this 2 Notes La Bass tube preamp that we used for all of the demos in today's video. In fact, if you liked the sounds, you can actually check out my full review of this pedal right here on YouTube. So guys, thanks so much for checking out this video today. If you enjoyed it, then go on and give me the thumbs up button. And if you want to see more videos like this one in which we look at basses, some of which are still made, some of which are not, and we have the vintage artifact series that we're on right now. And if you want to see more videos like this one, go on and hit the subscribe button and subscribe to the Rumblin' Man channel. As always, God bless you guys, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.